So are we ready?
This is Jay.
This is A.
And this is Moxicated,
where we drop the booze and walk through the reality of life alcohol-free.
So grab your favorite mock, get ready to laugh, and let's get Moxicated.
Hello and welcome back.
We're here and we have a guest.
So we're very excited about.
It feels kind of like we open like the beginning of a PBS show when we have a guest.
Yeah.
Like that felt, I don't know why I was here and I was like, this feels very PBS.
Yes.
But before we get into any tangents, please help me introduce Kendall Bierman. She is our guest today.
Yay, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, so I am a licensed therapist, a licensed mental health counselor, and my specialties include substance abuse, anxiety, and body image. And I work fully remote right now. So I'm licensed in New York and New Jersey, and I mostly work with young-ish adults, like 20 to like early 40s. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. My practice is fully virtual and I have my own practice right now.
Very cool.
Incredible. I mean, to be able to work from or remotely anywhere and just have your own practice. And I think that's so cool. I really respect like that entire generation that you just talked about. So I'm sure you get to meet a lot of really incredible people and that are going through
I do.
a bunch of different journeys too. Struggle.
And I like working remote because I have access, like I can reach so many other people, but I would love to have, I think in the near future, I'm working on finding a space where I can see some clients in person, and I'll be in New Jersey then. I'm actually moving next week from New York to New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. On Saturday, actually. So 4 days.
Whoa, that's big. Yeah,
that's big.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And that'll be so cool. I saw something recently. It made me giggle. It was like someone that was going to in-person therapy for the first time after only doing it remote. And they were like, this feels like I'm in a movie. There's a real life, like waterfall and a magazine thing next to me. And I just thought that was so funny. And it's really cool to kind of see like post-COVID, it kind of going back to in-person, because I feel like connection is probably felt a lot deeper in that space, in that shared space.
It definitely is. I mean, it's great that you have the option to do virtual, but I see a lot more clients wanting to do in person. And I want to also. There's, you miss certain things only doing virtual.
Yeah. Well, that is also awesome, all the work that you do. And obviously you have experience in substance abuse. Mm-hmm. Did you come into your line of work from anything that happened in your personal story, or was this just something that you felt called to do?
I guess both. Definitely my own personal story, which then led me to feel called to this. So I guess in like 2 weeks, I'll have 7 years sober myself.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really proud and happy. And so when I first started college, I guess, should I just get into my story a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us.
All right. So as far and as long as I can remember, I have been an anxious person. From when I was a little kid, I thought I'd get kidnapped, to then being dropped off at college and feeling so overwhelmed and anxious that I started relying on alcohol to deal with my anxiety. And it started off like pretty normal, I guess. I would just drink with my friends and we'd go out. And I quickly realized, or pretty quickly it happened, that I started relying on it even when I was alone, like before meeting up with friends, before going to certain social events, and hiding it because I knew that it wasn't like normal to be doing that. But I hadn't really learned the skills to deal with my anxiety and ways to like self-regulate and regulate my emotions. And so I relied on alcohol. And not only that, but like I actually felt that when I was drinking, I was more myself. Like I was so anxious that I felt very inhibited in social situations with self-monitoring and feeling just awkward and uncomfortable. So when I drank, I didn't have that. I felt I could really be me and make friends and like be cool or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I became even more reliant on it. My drinking, though, really, like, it was very fast and furious, where I was missing classes. I became so reliant on it that I was, drinking during the day. I reached a point where, like, as soon as I woke up, I was drinking in the morning and throughout the entire day. And I would hide it up until it was time to go to a party, and then it would be like normal to drink. Um, I ended up, I left my first college that I was at because I was doing really poorly naturally, and I took a medical leave. I went to intensive outpatient for a semester where I did really intense therapy, and stayed sober for 90 days, but then went to a different school, and kind of the same cycle happened again. Or I thought, well, this time I've learned about myself. I know how to like manage my anxiety, so I'll be able to drink normally now. But that just wasn't the case. And so what led me then to psychology and being a therapist, when I started school, I was first a communications major, then I was doing economics, and then I took a psych class, and I felt like I was sitting there learning about myself. It's like, oh, wow, yes, I'm an anxious person. Like I do this, I do that. And so naturally, I was very interested in it for partly selfish reasons. But it really called to me. And as much as I struggled in school, like, and I didn't want to quit drinking, I hit a point where I wished that I wanted to. I was like, I know this isn't serving me. I know it's really bad for me, but I just don't want to quit. I don't want to, I can't, but I want to hit a point where I can. So I had this like little bit of hope in me that one day that time would come where I would want it. And so I majored in psychology, and I thought one day this is going to work out, and I'm maybe going to stop drinking or whatever. And I want to be a therapist who helps people that struggled like I did. And so, I mean, I drank my way through college. It took 5 years for me to finish, and a lot of help from my parents, a lot of monitoring where my location was and making sure I got to class, even when I, couldn't get there myself. And when I did finish, I had like one last, I guess, binge drinking episode, right when I graduated. And the next day I woke up with like physical withdrawal symptoms. I was vomiting, I was shaking, and I knew what it was. I mean, I was a psych major. I had been educated in my own therapy about what alcohol withdrawal looks like, and I knew what was happening. And for the longest time, I tried to deny that I was addicted. I tried to think I could stop when I want. I just don't want to. And when it became physical for me, that was like a clear-cut indicator that I was an alcoholic. Yeah. That like my body, like I can deny it mentally, but physically I am full-blown addicted. And I'm really glad that happened. I ended up going to the hospital because I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen with the withdrawal. I was okay, but then when I came back from the hospital, I immediately pulled out my phone and looked up different rehabs, and 3 days later checked into rehab and have been sober since.
Wow.
Yeah. And
well, talk about the power of the mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
truly.
As you're sitting there studying all of this stuff, you are clearly manifesting like what you want for yourself. And it's so powerful to like hear you say, like, I knew it was coming, but like I wasn't there yet, but I knew I would get there. Like that is such a powerful thing, because I feel like a lot of people feel that and then maybe gaslight themselves into being like, no, I can't or whatever. But like, to really put that in the forefront of your mind, and despite continuing to drink, really believing in that, it really proves in the power of the mind and how incredible it can be.
I was going to say too, the self-awareness, because a lot of the time when we do hear other people's stories and stuff, it's very rare for them to be like, okay, I got out of that and then I looked up a rehab and I was there 3 days later, Like, I think that too just speaks truly to the intelligence too, and from learning and all of that. Like, I think it's very, very cool.
I mean, I left out some of the rock bottoms I hit along the way.
Yeah, no,
of course. There were a lot of consequences. Like, as much as I think on the outside, it could have looked like I had so much fun in college. Like, all the pictures were filled with me at parties, but I was so miserable. I had no self-esteem. I was doing so poorly in school. I lost completely who I was as a person. I didn't know who I was or what I wanted, and I was angry. And, but at a certain point, like, I guess enough was enough. And I knew it was an issue all those times, but what do they say? Like, you don't have to hit rock bottom. It's when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that was it for me. I was like, I'm so tired of living my life like this. I can't keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you experiment with alcohol in high school, or was it really just your college years?
I did, actually. I did drink in high school. As far as I can remember, like, my relationship with it was pretty good. I mean, I was kind of like an overachiever in high school. Everything I did was like 100%. I had this all or nothing attitude to life. And my own motto was like, if you're going to do something, give it 100% or don't bother doing it at all, which is like so toxic and unhealthy. But I thought it worked for me. And then when I got to college and I didn't feel I was at 100%, I just couldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, in high school, I did drink with friends, like on the weekends, but never by myself, and never like in at least what I consider to be a problematic way. It wasn't until I got to college, and it started pretty fast.
Yeah. And then you get to the end of your college career, and as you're starting your actual career, you get to step into that sober.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like, I wanted to be a therapist when I was studying psychology, but I was still drinking, like, and I was like, no, I'm going to be a therapist. And I knew that was not going to work. Like, I wouldn't be able to hold down any job the way that I was drinking. So where was I going with that?
Just talking about going into your career with being sober.
Yeah. So when I finally when I did go to rehab and I came back and I was like, I'm going to keep this going. I'm here to stay sober. And like, this is what I want to do. And I want to make this worth something. I want my struggles I want some good to come of it, because it was horrible. Like, that's the only way I can describe it, being in active addiction and having no control over your own drinking or substance use, and drinking and crying about it because you know it's the wrong thing to do, but you're doing it anyway and you can't stop. It's absolutely horrible.
It's like a prison of your own making.
It is. It's like you are a prisoner of yourself. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted something good to come of it. And I feel that I do that now in my work, and I'm loud about it and I share about it, because at the time I was so ashamed. I was even ashamed to get sober. Like, I was ashamed that I was drinking in the way that I was, and I was also ashamed to get sober and what that would mean. And the best way to tackle shame is by talking about it. And if I had maybe met some more people that were really open about their sobriety, maybe it wouldn't have been quite as hard. I don't know, but maybe.
Well, and 7 years ago, that was really hard to come by. 7 years ago, this wasn't, even this alcohol-free movement was like, just starting. Yeah, like if anything, it was like underground getting ready to come up. And it was, you come out of this huge life event where there was so much shame involved, and you're making a better decision for yourself, and so to find shame in there is such a conflicting feeling. And it's so cool to see so many of us who kind of went through this however many years ago, what was born out of it. Like now being able to speak and help others, through your work, through, what we do in this podcast. And like, we didn't have that when we first decided to be sober. And now we're able to provide that. It's such a powerful shift for the alcohol free community and for ourselves.
It really is. I think when I got sober, the only non-alcoholic beer was O'Doul's. And that was like a dead giveaway. I was like, I'm not going to drink that.
Yeah, I know. And then it took like a couple years for Heineken 0.0, and I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like the other one.
It's like the real thing. And there's so many restaurants have mocktails, and like there's a whole world out there of like still getting that fancy drink or feeling a part of, but doing it sober.
Yeah. And looking at your work, I really can't imagine like how, I'm sure it's just invaluable, the amount of advice and gift that you're able to bring to your clients, because there's so much power in somebody that helps and heals someone else that's been through what they're helping the person heal from. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people out there who can be qualified and have the knowledge and the skill and put in the work to, help people with substance abuse problems that, maybe still occasionally drink wine or still, I have a great relationship with alcohol. And so to be able to find help and healing from somebody that knows exactly where you've been, that's been to that moment, and maybe it didn't look the same as your client, but like you can understand it. And I'm sure that is so powerful for the individuals that you're helping.
I hope it is. I know for some that it is. And we even, when I was struggling, I had different therapists along the way, and I liked almost all of them. But addiction is so hard. It's really hard to understand if you haven't gone through it, or if you haven't had a direct family member go through it. Like you can do all the studying and research in the world, but unless you've experienced it firsthand or secondhand, I guess, like it's so hard to understand. Even being on the other side of it, sometimes, like when I was early in my career, which I'm still early, but in the first like year or so, I struggled working with clients who were in early sobriety. So I was like, I figured it out. Like, come on, like, why are you still relapsing? Like, I found myself getting frustrated. And I'm like, if I can't be patient, how can anybody else? And so when I first started, like my goal was to help other people in sobriety or in recovery. But I had to take a couple years of actually a break from that, because I think I was still too close to it. I was still too early in my own sobriety, and I struggled to separate myself from the client. And now, like just about 7 years in, I feel so much more confident, and I'm like full in, like, please come, like, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do.
It's so interesting. And we were having a conversation at an earlier time about this, about how even though, you have like 1 or 2 years sober, you're still learning, you're still changing, you're still like finding your footing yourself in this alcohol-free world. And sometimes it seems like you give up sobriety and like that, or you start sobriety and that's it. You're like, okay. And it's like everything's the same, but I'm just sober now. And it's just such a journey, and you continue to evolve through every year. I personally feel like that you become sober. And so now you're just out there helping so many people. I want to touch more on like how you feel like therapy really is beneficial in somebody that is questioning their relationship with alcohol, or is maybe using alcohol to cope for something else, and maybe tell us what that something else might be.
Yeah, well, I can't speak for everyone, but almost everyone I talk to or speak to who was abusing substances was doing it as a symptom of other underlying issues. I look at substance abuse as a symptom of something greater. And for me, it was anxiety. And for a lot of my clients that I am working with, it's anxiety.
Yeah.
It's someone who has like a dysregulated nervous system, who doesn't know how to self-soothe, self-calm, doesn't know how to deal with the strong emotions or what to do with them. And substance use works in multiple ways. And one, that it's an avoidance. You don't have to deal with negative thinking or ruminating or anxious thoughts or even depressive thoughts. And And so it's an avoidance. And then for some people, it feels like, no, it's my way of like being like fun and cool, calm, and collected. Like it kind of was served both of those for me.
Yeah.
So the way I see therapy helping is like, I mean, anyone can stay dry, I think, or maybe not anyone, but most people can stay dry at least for a short amount of time. Let's say even a week where you cut out substances. But what makes that so hard is like, what are you doing with yourself? What are you doing with your emotions? What are you doing with your thought while you're not using? Getting sober isn't about just cutting out substances. It's about learning how to live your life on life's terms without checking out, without avoiding. And that's hard. Like life is hard.
Yeah.
The one thing, like it's going to be full of challenges. That's something we can be certain of. And so, like you said, each year we're evolving and changing in our own sobriety because life throws more challenges at us and we have to adapt and then learn how to handle that. So in coming to therapy, it's helpful for one, like you're no longer lying to yourself. You have to speak about what's going on and you have a safe place where you can do that. Two, it's a place where then you can learn to identify what your emotions are in the first place, start to get comfortable with them and learn how to manage them. Yeah. And once you can do that, then you don't really need to rely on this exterior thing to calm you down. That being said, it's not going to feel as good as drinking or other substance use. Yeah. It's just not. Like, yeah. Like, it would be much easier for me to go drink a handle of vodka than it is to like go meditate and, take a walk.
Well, and I'm sure it takes time too to implement. And like you were saying, when you first were into your career in early sobriety, you would get frustrated with these people who are kind of stuck in this cycle of quitting and starting again and quitting and starting again. And now you kind of like where you're at and you're at a bird's eye view, the more you get sober, but also understanding that nervous system part of it. And like, okay, this is going to take time. And maybe for this person, it's going to take a little bit more time to understand how to soothe and understand exactly the techniques that you're teaching them. And somebody else might just pick it up right away. And that's, something we talk about a lot is how different everybody's story is. And just to be able to have someone who consistently shows up for you and reminds you about these tools and, asks you about them or, finds ways to integrate it into your life is, I feel like, so crucial in any walk of life. But sobriety, like you need help. You need a safe space.
I think that's one of the number one question that people ask when they find out I don't drink. They're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What do I do? I can go on all day. I'm like, and I usually am kind of a smart aleck and like, well, we were all born with personalities, and then have to rewind and be like, okay, Allie, but yeah, I think that providing with people with coping mechanisms and all of that is such an important part of sobriety and therapy too.
Well, and something we were never taught.
Yeah.
We really weren't. But you bring up such a good point about like, well, what do you do when you're not using substances? Like if you're giving up, that might be the most like quote fun part of your life, even though it's obviously causing a lot of issues. Like how do you have fun without going to a bar? And that being said, you can go to a bar, but if you're not drinking, how do you do that? Like, how do you have fun? And so it's also about discovering ways that you can have fun and getting in touch with yourself and what you actually enjoy without substances. And that takes more effort. It takes a lot more effort to, be intentional and like picking out something to do than it is to just go downstairs and walk to the bar and meet friends there. That's easy.
It's also a lot more vulnerable because you're putting yourself in positions where you're maybe learning new things or relearning things, in a different light. And you can feel so like, oh my gosh, like I'm a baby giraffe learning to walk for the first time, but so much of what, is still changing and growing and evolving in us in sobriety comes from those moments of like just pure vulnerability and putting yourself out there.
You're exposed completely.
Yeah.
But that's how you learn. You have to be exposed to that.
Yeah. It's so good. And I wonder, like, when people come to you, I'm sure that that's one of the many questions they have is like, how am I supposed to have fun or what am I supposed to do with myself? But I'm sure that you also get a lot of people in there that struggle with their current relationships and how giving up alcohol might affect that.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, not always, but I would be lying to you if I said like all your relationships are going to stay the same and the only thing that's going to change is that you don't drink. That's just not the truth.
Yeah.
But in a positive light, like you're the one that's going to change and for the better. And you might also decide that the people you're hanging out with no longer serve you. And that can be hard to understand or really believe when you're first, discussing sobriety. But yeah, you might lose some friends. And that obviously has more to do with them than it does with you. And I know that doesn't help in the moment where you're like, well, I don't care. I don't want to lose my friend. But you will also probably get even deeper with certain friends that you have now that you weren't expecting to, because they will show up for you and do things with you, even in your sobriety, and support you in that. And that's how you like build these really deep connections. Like I've never had such close friends as I did in sobriety. When I was drinking, everyone was my friend, but no one was like really my friend.
Right.
It's different. It's like that quality over quantity.
Totally. What advice do you give your clients if they come in and they're like, a lot of things that we get, is a lot of partner relationships, where one person is still drinking and the other one isn't. And we're very fortunate that we don't have that experience. But I'm sure even in like family relationships, there's people that, have these decisions that start to maybe make them want to drink again, or they're so enmeshed that they feel like they can't escape this life that they are trying to escape.
That gets hard. I'm married and I've been with my husband since before I got sober, and he's a normie, I guess. Like he can drink.
Yeah.
I was lucky. He was extremely and is extremely supportive. But it can create some issues. Boundaries. I mean, that's the number one thing. Like, what do boundaries? What does that mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it can vary, but really, it's deciding like what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And like, for instance, my family, they all still drink. Some, hopefully, they're not going to listen to this. Some maybe too much. So when I go and visit them, like I will set a boundary. Okay, at this time, I'm going to go to bed. When it's this time of night, I'm not going to call my family members because they might be drinking and I don't want to have that conversation. Or maybe like you have a partner who wants to keep drinking, and that's fine, but maybe you just don't want hard alcohol kept in the house. Like you have to decide what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, and have a real and hard conversation with that person in your life. Yeah. I know, like when I was first sober, I didn't want my husband, my boyfriend at the time, to have to change anything in his life. I was like, this is my problem. You do whatever you want. But I realized, like, if your partner loves you, if you're, whatever, if they don't have a drinking problem and they love you, it is also their problem. Not a problem, but like they want to support you.
Yeah.
So let them figure out what you need from them, what would be helpful for you. Sometimes even just a check-in. Like if you're out with your partner and they're drinking and you're maybe out with other people who are drinking, just to have him or her come up to you and be like, hey, how are you doing? That means so much.
Huge.
To feel they're thinking about you and they're checking in.
It's so good. And that was such a good point, because I know that like even beyond our partnership, that when both of us stopped drinking, that was something that we really experienced. And it was more of an insecurity of ours, being like, nobody changes. Drink if you want, like take a shot, I'm fine. But it's such great advice that I literally have not heard before in saying to like you might feel like you don't like want anything to change for them, but they love you, so ask for what you want. Like, and it's so powerful. Let them take care of you. Let them love on you. Let them show you that they are able to welcome this new chapter of yours into their life instead of doing all of this mental gymnastics in your head about trying to control this and make someone think that you're fine and this and this. Like, just let them. It's such a great piece of advice.
Off subject, but you guys are speaking to my soul right now with all my allergies.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was recently diagnosed with celiac disease and a lot of other stuff. And so, but I'm totally in that space where I'm like, I don't want anyone to change. I don't want anyone to help. I will figure it out for myself. I'll bring my own snacks. I'll bring my own food. I'll do it all. And so it's funny. Exactly what you guys are saying is like, I am letting people start when they ask, they're like, what can we bring? I'm like, and at first I was like, nothing. I don't want other people to eat gluten-free because I am, you know, and different things like that. And so it's just interesting how even that mentality can pour into our allergies, to sobriety, to motherhood, to all of it, and just accepting help. I think too,
that's what it is.
I'm going to speak for all of us, but as women, it's so hard for us to accept the help and take it on, especially because we're all very
we don't go. Well, and we care so much about, you know, wanting to come across a certain way, whether it's that or whether it's not wanting to impose on somebody.
You don't want to be a burden.
Yeah,
totally. That's a big thing. Like it's almost like I don't want to be a burden, so I'm going to pretend like I have it all together when really I don't have it all together. And it's like just how we expect so much out of ourselves, but then it's that like, you know, time old thing. Like if your best friend came to you and said this, what would you say to them? You know, like if Allie came to me and said, can you bring me something, or I'm struggling with, you know, my diet, I would be like, whoa! You know, pour my love onto her. But we don't think like that. We think that it's too much, or we'll just take care of ourselves. And like, we continue to go under here when we're meant to shine and we're meant to live in community and we're meant to help each other.
Yeah. And I think if your partner or friend or family, if they won't do that for you, either they have like their own issue and it doesn't have to do with you. It's something that they need to deal with. And in that case, maybe you need firmer boundaries, not to cut them off completely, but firmer. Or maybe they don't really care, but it's information either way. But someone who wants to be in your life and who you want in your life, they will support you.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you have people come and see you for substance abuse, you mentioned that anxiety is pretty common. Are there any other like common factors that you see, or is it more like across the board people come in with all different types of walks and stories?
It's across the board. Do you mean like who I see, or those who also have substance abuse issues? Like, what am I seeing?
Yeah, those who also have substance abuse issues. The commonalities.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I think I mostly see anxiety, but I also see people with OCD and like with intense rumination, and almost like this all or nothing attitude when it comes to drinking, of like, I'm either like fully drinking and letting loose, and then the rest of my life I'm like rigid and like, you know, living by the book. So I do see OCD. What else? I mean, there's also like personality disorders or like risk-taking behavior. So, I mean, anyone with any mental disorder or no mental disorder can struggle with substance abuse. But in my practice, I focus more in on anxiety, as well as like body image. So mostly what I see is anxiety and OCD in addition to substance use disorders.
That like breaks my heart for all of that going on. I wonder too if you like how the conversations go with your clients that are trying to moderate, because I feel like that's a hot topic, and especially in our lives now, we get so frustrated with moderation. But because There's so many people who like say you can, or like there's all those
Yeah.
wellness influencers and sites that are like, one's okay, two,
How to drink and
here's the
stay
theory.
fit.
And so
Yeah.
it can be confusing for someone that has, especially if you're dealing with OCD, anxiety, and you're using alcohol to cope, and then you're looking at people who tell you moderation is real. Do
Yeah,
you
because
see
why
that a
wouldn't
lot?
you want that? I
Yeah.
wanted that. I tried to moderate for years.
Well, and I thought it came with age too. I was like, I'll get there when
Oh, yeah.
I'm X amount of years, and then that age would come, and I'm like, maybe it's 5 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is I feel almost like a controversial topic of like moderating.
Yeah.
But I have a chunk of clients who are trying to moderate, and I cannot say that it doesn't work because there are people out there that are moderating.
Yeah.
So whether I believe a client of mine can or can't moderate, I'm not the person who can tell them that. They have to figure that out for themselves. If I were to say flat out, well, this isn't working, no, you got to stop. I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, well, F you. You don't know me. Like, I'm going to try.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. And I'm also not going to,
too.
right? And I'm also not going to tell someone, oh, yeah, you should definitely try moderating. I think, like, I feel like in some ways it is easier to quit completely than it is to moderate, because moderating entails so much like self-honesty, so much accountability. You're also like tempting yourself by drinking, yet you can't really get drunk anymore if you're trying to moderate, because getting was like the problem, especially for someone who doesn't drink every day, but they binge drink. It's like, okay, so you're going to moderate by having 2 drinks, but it's like, but is that even what you want? Do you want just 2 drinks? So it requires some brutal honesty with yourself and your therapist. And so what we do with my clients who are trying that is we start tracking things. We track how much they're drinking throughout the week. We track, we figure out what their triggers are, what we do, like, what do they call it? Like a chain analysis is what we'll call, like, if you ended up drinking more than you wanted, like what happened before, what were the vulnerability factors, what happened during, what happened after. And we're going to analyze really all your behaviors around drinking and your emotions.
Wow.
And
I love that.
it takes a lot of work. And so as time goes by, if you're doing it successfully, you're like, you know what? I don't need to get drunk anymore. I'm happy to have these 2 drinks and it's working. That's great. And I really hope that they get there. I really want that for them, because that would be great. The hard part is when now I've been working with my client for months, and every week it's the same thing of like, well, this day went well, but this day didn't. And it's like, well, okay, does this seem to be working? We're looking at the data. Is this working for you? And they can usually see, no, it's not, but that doesn't mean now they're ready to stop completely.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It's such a useful tool to be able to like track, to look back and say, wait, this is where I was 3 months ago and I'm in the exact same place. So maybe moderation isn't working, like to take it out of here, because that's a way that I think on our podcast it's been described as like how much mental gymnastics
Yes,
goes
I was
into
going to say that.
moderation.
The
Like,
mind is tricky.
you're thinking about this and then this and then this, but you're taking that out, you're putting it on paper, and then you're looking at it like linear. It is so powerful and something I wish I had.
Yes. No.
10 years
Yeah.
ago. Wow.
Seriously.
It's such a powerful tool, and I feel like you keep dropping such good bombs of knowledge on this, such good advice on here. So, what else do you have, for your clients or like for our listeners that are wanting to get into therapy or worried about therapy or don't know where to start when it comes to therapy and what you're talking about, whether it's anxiety, substance abuse, OCD, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, it can be nerve-wracking going and finding a therapist and talking about this stuff. You don't want to feel judged and you want to feel understood. I would say that one of the most important things in finding a therapist is finding someone that you truly feel comfortable with, that maybe you feel connected to, that you relate to on some level. Because if you don't feel that connected to them, you're not going to be fully honest with them. Or if you don't feel safe with them, you're not going to share the things that you need to be sharing. So be like discriminate in who you pick as a therapist. If you want someone in their 50s, or you want someone who's 30, or you want someone who is Asian or white, like pick someone that you feel like, and you're not going to be judged for it. Like, we all do it. Pick someone that you feel you can relate to. And when you're seeing them, I would also encourage you to see someone who has experience working with people who are either sober curious or wanting to get sober. Because as I mentioned before, addiction, even if you've done your own research and studied it, like it's really hard to understand. And so to see someone who is not familiar with it, they could end up enabling you, saying like, well, no, it's not the drinking. You're right. It's just your anxiety. We need to work on that. Yeah, it might be your anxiety, but you can't work on the anxiety when you're drinking a bottle of vodka every day. It's useless.
Yeah.
So yeah, so see someone who's familiar with that, someone you can relate to and connect to.
You've mentioned honesty like so many times, and I think that is such a crucial part of therapy. If you're going, it's that saying, if you get out of it what you put into it, but
Yeah.
when you're looking for, like you're saying, when you're looking for a therapist, you have to find someone that you're going to be able to be completely honest with, because that's the best way. That it sounds like, you get all of these results. There's so much honesty required in it.
There is. I mean, it's hard to even be honest to yourself. So there are things I've had to talk to with my therapist who, like, I don't even want to say the things out loud to myself. So it better be with someone that I feel like I'm going to say it and I feel safe that they're going to not judge me and encourage me to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
I love when therapists have therapists. I do. I don't know why. It always makes me, because
they believe in their own.
Well, no, and they're like, I can talk to somebody too.
We all need help.
I love my therapist. She's the best.
I have one, which I don't know if this is like going to be like, you're like, oh yes, I have an answer. It might not. But so for self-regulation, do you have any tips for our listeners, like a physical one, like if they're having a big anxiety moment, or like how
they're wanting alcohol, or they're wanting to reach for something, what is something that they can do?
What can they do in that present moment to just bring them down? Do you have a tip for them?
Yes. So when we are using our senses, our five senses, we are not in the past, we are not in the future, we are right here in the present. And what we need to do when we are feeling really dysregulated like that is get grounded. So there are certain like things that you can do, whether it is breath work or a meditation. And I don't mean like go lay down and close your eyes and meditate for 20 minutes, but one thing that was recently introduced to me is something called hand skating, where you're literally just like rubbing your palms back and forth. Because we have I don't know if it's the most like sensory feedback, whatever, on our hands. But just doing this and focusing like on the feeling is a way to calm your nervous system. And it doesn't even have to seem like, you can almost do it kind of discreetly where people don't see what you're doing. There's also like essential oils, and literally, I know it can sound like woo woo, but
you're talking to the woo woos. Just kidding.
But rely on your senses. Like you have something that smells good, smell it, inhale it, like use the essential oil and smell it. Take deep breaths while you do it. Count your breaths if you need to. If you're really distressed and you're like, I can't even focus on my senses, distract tools that you can use. One of them is literally counting counting to 100 by sevens, 7, 14, 21, 28, or counting backwards by 7 from 100, different like mental activities.
Oh.
But mostly getting grounded in the present is it. There's one, I won't get into the whole thing, but there's a quick meditation that I really like, which is the 5 senses, where you are listing out 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can maybe smell. What did I miss? No, sorry. 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste. And take your time with it and like really point these things out, touch them, smell them, feel them.
Wow. I love that.
It's a kind of quick way to get you grounded.
Totally. Especially like outdoors or somewhere I can see you perfect. Like I can see myself when you were talking. I was like, okay, I can see all the things, like so.
Right? Like, do you hear the birds?
Yeah.
Do you hear really anything? It's just focusing on the here and now and on your senses.
Well,
Really great.
yes, thank you so much. And we're going to put all of your information on our post so that people know where to find you. A lot of our listeners are, across the country, but if they are in New York or New Jersey, are you accepting clients?
I am, yes.
Yay! So reach out to her, follow her. She has so much wisdom, and we're just so thankful, Kendall, that you shared it with us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And yeah, you're welcome to follow me at Kendall B Therapy, or go to my website, which you'll put in the details, just kendallbtherapy.com.
Yes, so good. Well, thank you so much, and we love you, babes.
Talk soon.